careful. You might learn something.
Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Factual Opinions Podcast with your hosts. I am Pharaoh. Straight facts.
Welcome back, world. Factual Opinions Podcast. This is season 4, episode 14. We're calling it training camp because everybody's in training camp right now. Either you're getting ready to go back to school or you're in college and the college football teams are in training camp preparing for the autumn. And our beloved NFL franchises are in training camp as well. So it's your host. I am Pharaoh checking in with the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John.
Yes, sir.
Will West, the best Nate.
You know it.
And we're happy to be back. A lot going on in the world of sports, the world in general. Vice President Kamala Harris picked her running mate yesterday, so there's been a lot of news around that. Not going to go the politics route today, but it'll be interesting to see now that there's a full-fledged presidential race going on and everybody knows who the candidates are. More importantly, man, I'm not a Browns fan. Neither of us are on here. But did anybody see the new plans for Cleveland Browns Stadium?
No. What they look like?
Well, first of all, it's a indoor facility, which I think defeats the whole purpose and essence of what the Cleveland Browns are and are supposed to be, and any type of home field advantage that they could have up there on that lake. It's actually in the burbs. And I'm getting ready to go on one of my famous grind my gears rants that I haven't in a while on here. Because y'all know how I am about these franchises playing outside of where they're actually located. I hate that.
Right.
If you're the Cleveland Browns, you need to be playing in Cleveland. Not Berea, not outside in the burbs and all of that. And again, what advantage do you have other than being on that lake cold in January, February, when it's supposed to be hard for you to play outside, than to do that? I don't like it. Just like I don't like the 49ers playing 45 minutes outside of San Francisco.
That's crazy to me.
The Dallas Cowboys ain't played in Dallas since before we were even alive.
Right.
Only one I understand is New York.
Yeah, because New York is a congested city, so it makes sense.
There's nowhere to park. There really ain't nowhere to build it.
I was about to say, it was barely somewhere for them to put a stadium somewhere.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, I mean, it looks nice, but you understand what it's about. It's about the money and, you know.
They want a Super Bowl there.
They want a Super Bowl there, be able to throw other events in Cleveland, you know, the business districts and stuff like that. But I think they're doing themselves a disservice not having it down there in the lake in the normal downtown district where they've always had the stadium.
Right. Yeah, I just did a pass through in Cleveland. Cleveland looked like it's still the flats is still missing.
You got back from Houston, man. Like you had to
I had to fly to Cleveland. That's terrible. I had to fly to Cleveland, then drive all the way from Cleveland to Cincinnati. I didn't get home till Duke, and Amber didn't get home till about 5 in the morning.
That's crazy.
Man. That's how
these flights are bad. These flights are really bad too.
What happened to the straight shot flights, man? I guess you got to pay through the nose for them, huh?
You got to pay $600 for them red eyes. That's what you got to do. $600 out the door for them red eyes.
Man, listen,
that's crazy.
That's why I said I ain't traveling till my bachelor party next year. I'm done. I'm supposed to go to my sister's wedding. I don't think I'm gonna make that.
Man, you gonna miss your sister's wedding?
Lifing right now, so I gotta do what I gotta do what I gotta do.
You ain't gotta tell me. I know.
So, I understand. You know, Big John still ducking that smoke in college football 25.
Oh, you still ducking?
Man, I ain't had time to get acclimated, man. Give me time, bro. I'm getting
him and my other best friend. I need to wish him a belated happy birthday. I spoke to him yesterday on his birthday. Young Jeffrey Lawrence Jr.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday, big dog.
Happy birthday, Jeff. Happy birthday.
Yes, sir. He's ducking that smoke, too, because he said people take too much pride in beating him at NCAA, so he want to be ready. I said, it's just a game, man.
Oh, I feel that way, too. You know, when we was up at Central, nigga, I used to take niggas' money. Excuse me. I used to take people's money. Oh, they hate. I always remember they used to hate playing me and Carol. We used to take people money.
Yeah.
What was I playing? Oh, in the game?
Yeah.
Well, me
Oh,
and
yeah,
Jeff,
I was cold in 2K. That was the only thing I was cold in.
me and
I was
Jeff used to do the
untouchable.
same thing with NCAA and Madden up in Toledo. We actually had a little sign up sheet on our door at the dorm.
Oh, that's live.
Cats was getting. I can't say what would happen.
48 nothing.
Yeah, and breaking
62
controllers
to 2.
and stuff. Not ours. They own controllers and
Right.
stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In fact, the founder of Toledo clothing brand, Chris Buns, was one of them that I know Jeff easily took hundreds of dollars. I won't say the exact figure because
Exact amount, yeah.
he
It
could
was
not.
a lot of money.
Couldn't beat Jeff and Madden, and he used the Steelers, which made it even better. Choosing them Steelers like that, it was a little revenge for us Bengals fans.
Right.
But speaking of Toledo, and he didn't wear it on Saturday. Did anybody catch the Bud Crawford card?
I did. I watched it. Oh, I don't know why I'm rotating. I watched it. He didn't look his best in this performance, in my opinion.
He
Do
did.
you think he had too much time off?
No.
I don't think it was that. I don't think his power transferred to that next level. And that's my opinion.
I was gonna say everybody thinks that they could just transcend weight classes and go
Yeah,
up
and act like it's okay.
They have weight limit for a reason.
Yeah.
And if I was Bud Crawford, I would stop right there at 154 at junior middleweight.
Yep.
Like Nate said, you could tell the difference. That's gonna be about it for
Dude was walking through his punches.
That's what I was gonna say. That weight class is probably gonna be it for him being able to keep people off of him.
Yeah.
This whole dream about him and Canelo,
that's dead.
Because Canelo's not coming down.
No.
And he already admitted that he would have to move up to 168. So you're still talking about another 2 weight classes to get up to fight Canelo, and then you're fighting Canelo. So
and you see big time money man. He said he retracted what he said was offered. He said, I'm retracting my offer.
What's his name? Because I don't want to mispronounce it.
I don't even know, but they call him
Turkish.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I want to shout out him though, because he's putting
together. Let's talk about him right now.
Some hellified boxing cards, man.
Yeah.
You know what he's doing? He's throwing that oil money out there.
Yeah.
Look,
for sure.
Right. Because you used to having a good main event and everything else is trash. No, he's putting on whole cards that could be main events themselves.
Yeah.
Now
he had 3 major fighters, 4 on this card. He had Jerron Anderson, who got his tail whooped.
We'll get back to Jared.
Yeah, we'll go there. I mean, sorry, Jared Anderson. We'll go to that in a minute. But yeah, then he had Pitbull on there, and then he had Crawford on there. I think the only thing that ruined everything, Eminem should not have performed.
We'll get to Marshall in a second, but you forgot
and Ruiz
Miller and Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
It really was. Both needed that fight.
Yeah, they both needed it. I feel like they kind of took it from
Big Baby won.
Big Baby. Yeah, Big Baby won that fight for sure. And you could see that Andy Ruiz, that Russ was heavy on him.
Well, he's been out the
really rusty.
Years.
Yeah, he was really rusty.
Ruiz is never really all that much in shape to begin with.
No, he's not.
We talk about a 2-year layoff, and that was the second heaviest that he's ever weighed in his career. So
Big Baby was like 300 though.
Well, but that's down from his last fight. Big Baby.
Yeah, he was like 3-0. He was like 384 last fight.
Yeah,
That's
why he lost.
He was like 384 the last fight, and he was like 303 this fight.
Round up, he 400 pounds. Round up.
Yeah, he was. He's down to 3.
His own layoff though. Last fight, and he lost to his first career fight to Du Bois, who's fighting Anthony Joshua next month. So him weighing in at 303 this time was actually good, and he didn't fade down the stretch.
No, he didn't fade down.
So
he just it was points in the fight he wasn't throwing punches when he should have, but he didn't die down in the fight, which I got a little surprised.
Real quick, Nate. maybe you can help me. I'm gonna look up the promoter's actual name
Okay.
because he deserves credit because what he's doing is he's just throwing out money and saying, "Look, I want the best fights all on my one card." And this time, it didn't happen in Saudi Arabia. He came to America and put
Yeah.
on a
But
hellified
the
card in
only way
LA.
you can stop these cats from ducking smoke is throwing money at them. That's the only way they gonna do it. And
But
sometimes
this is the thing, and this is the thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Big John. I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna
what's
say
that?
something.
What's that old mafia term? I'm gonna give you a proposition you can't refuse.
Make
You ain't
me
gonna
Mhm.
turn.
I can't refuse.
You ain't
Yep.
gonna turn it down. So
And the thing
But
is about that Big John, he's like Al said, his money is unlimited, so
of
he's not
course,
afraid to throw this money around. He's trying to get everybody, anybody. I don't
everybody.
care what promotion you're with. I will outbid your promoter to get you to fight over here, and that's what he's doing. He
What's that?
outbid now. Hey man,
That
Bob
Busta Rhymes,
Arum.
that Busta Rhymes song, we getting Arab money.
Yeah, yeah. They getting they rap money is real.
right,
It's real.
right.
And they say he's like what the top
Happening.
five richest men in out there.
Yeah, and it's funny watching these fights that he puts on when you have Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn and the rest of these, promoters that we're used to seeing sitting there on the side. They're there because they have their fighters fighting, but it's not their show. They
It
don't have
ain't their show at all.
going on. They're just spectators sitting there. So he's like I said, he's putting that money forward and saying, "Look, you want the money? Let's make it happen." Now, that turned into a bad thing for Big Baby Anderson
Mm-hmm.
from Toledo, Ohio, because a lot of people were saying, "Man, I don't know if he was ready for the spotlight and the fight and the fighter that he fought against," and it proved to be a little bit too much. I did think that Big Baby needed a little bit more seasoning. Definitely needs to work on
Especially for him.
his defensive prowess and skills. It's okay when you're fighting them scrubs, and I say that respectfully, for fighters in the game or whatever. But when you start getting big time and move up to the upper echelon of the sport and fighting heavyweights that actually do have some skill and know what they're doing, because me and Kurt were watching the fight, and at first we're like, "Man, dude ain't even moving,"
Ain't
and
moving.
figured out what he was doing. He was timing Big Baby, and he was
Mm-hmm.
eating. And that first uppercut, he wasn't right after that. After he ate
Yep.
that first uppercut, man.
Yeah. You know what the thing is? Al was scared when we was watching him. Big John, you know how we see guys throw punches and they're stepping into it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to step into it. He just letting it. He was letting
So
them
long,
boulders. Yeah, his arms are so long, and he was just dropping boulders on Anderson. He
he
couldn't
has that
handle that.
reach, and it's with Big Baby being 6'4", he's not really used to having that much of a detriment in reach.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard for him to overcome. And what distance should I be at? And while he's thinking about that, dude was hitting him with some stiff jabs and right hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It was really like, oh yeah, this and dude is huge. Dude's like 6'9". Dude wasn't no little. He wasn't no
Yeah,
little
that's the
little.
problem, man.
Yeah,
When
he was huge. He
when
was
six
300 pounds too.
when 6'4" becomes short,
Right.
Yeah. So and then when that fight was going on, I also realized I hate to say this, but Sean Porter said something real. He said there's a difference between that Jerron Anderson weight and that grown man weight. There's a difference. Dude had that grown man weight, and Jerron Anderson wasn't gonna handle them shots that dude was giving out at all.
Right.
Um, and I think this fight humbled him though, Al. I think this makes him want to put more work in. Remember, everybody was questioning him about if he really wanted to be a boxer and all that other stuff. Remember that Roy Jones interview?
I remember that when he was, in
I'm just
tears
doing this. Yeah, I'm just doing this to provide
about
for my
pressure,
family.
and I don't
Yeah,
necessarily want everything that comes along with it, and blah blah blah. And I remember when he said that, I'm like, this ain't really the sport for that. If
yeah.
you having those questions, man, boxing is one that you got to be all in, or this is what
Right.
happens: you get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's cool that you're doing that for your daughter. We've seen a lot of people fight for their families and stuff. Deontay Wilder walked into a gym at 19 years old, won a bronze medal, and became heavyweight champ of the world. But that's few and far in between.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, you do have to lock in or at least love the sport somewhat,
A
or
tad, at least a little bit.
or you can get hurt. But I
I
do
think
like
this is the fight. I think this is the fight that gave him the fire, though.
his response though, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
find. There it is. Turkey Al Sheikh.
That's who he got beat by.
No.
Oh, the promoter. Yeah, you're right.
Turkey Al Sheikh for Saudi boxing. To me, this is amazing because, like you said, he's essentially just throwing it out there. You know, he's as my dad would say, smelling his own piss because he's like, ain't nobody got the money I got, so I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
put on these cards. I'm gonna throw enough money out there where they can't refuse these top matchups we want to see, and that's what's happening. So I personally want to give a shout out to Turkey Al Sheikh because brothers don't mind paying $80 for a full fight card.
Yeah, that's that. I wouldn't have mind. I would have paid this for this one. This is
Yeah,
something I would have paid for.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And it's good for the sport of boxing. Roy was talking about that. He said, I think it was Steven Jackson was interviewing him on
he was on All the Smoke. Yep.
on a Smoke podcast, and he said, Roy, how you feel about the money that's being thrown out here by these Saudis now, and the boxing cards that are being put on? And those were his exact words. What we were just talking about. He said, you know what, man? It's kind of like you feel, Jack, about players that are getting paid the salaries that they get now versus what y'all got. He said, imagine what we would have been doing. He said, those of us that were in love with the sport
Mm-hmm.
and were happy to put on a show. I'm like, yeah, imagine Roy getting paid to go over to
Top
Saudi,
tier dollar.
or even if it's here.
Oh, y'all thought Floyd was ignorant.
What's up, Big Henry?
What up, Henry?
Y'all thought Floyd would have been ignorant. He would have been mad ignorant getting all
Oh
that.
yeah, it's been to a different level of ignorance.
Hey, Henry, we're running out of time, man. I don't know if you're still here, man. We got to go catch a Reds game, man. Like we talked about.
But I mean, when you come from a part of the world where that gentleman comes from, where it's not really a lot of sport, they even doing it with golf with the whole live golf movement. He's trying to bring sport to his countries.
Oh, they already took over golf.
Yeah, they already took over golf. They bought them out.
That's what I'm saying. He's trying to bring sport to his part of the world. They already trying to do a basketball league. There's a couple NBA guys that's over there coaching basketball right now. So he's trying, even though he knows his part of the world doesn't have that much sport, he's bringing it to his culture and his world,
I got a couple of young guys I'm trying to get over there too.
Yeah.
Just because that's the top tier dollar.
How do Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, and the rest of these promoters, hell, even Al Heyman,
I think they're shaking in their boots.
It's been a while since you've seen a PBC card.
Mm-hmm.
How do they match this?
They can't.
Ain't no matching.
Just like in the music industry, when certain artists realize I can get more money being independent than going to these labels. If you have that in your bag, some artists don't. But if you have it, you can do it. Like Jay-Z wanted to sign Joey Badass, but he had enough money to be like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm doing my thing.
I'm cool. Yep.
So now, going back to the boxing, you can't match this man's money. So now you got to figure out another avenue to get to the money because he's taking all your profit.
Yeah, and that was a power move. Like I said, most of the events since they started throwing these on have been in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "No, I'm come here too." USA put on this card. Next month,
it did.
Next month, he's going to London for Anthony Joshua's fight.
Yep.
He's
trying to get the Nightmare guy, the guy in Japan. He's trying to go get him. He's trying to throw a fight out there. Yeah, dude's touching everything. Everything is getting ready to be touched by him.
Speaking of that, I'm not a boxing aficionado like y'all too, but who is that Asian dude that's putting paws on cats? Like that little.
That's the Nightmare. That's the one I'm talking about.
Like, bro, like I looked at him, I was like, he ain't about to do nothing. I seen him put some things on this nigga. Like, I was like,
yeah, man. He's putting people down left and right.
Well, there was another boxer from the continent of Asia that started off in the same way that people didn't know much about him. and all he needed was that showcase of speaking of the great Manny Pacquiao. So it's possible. If you can fight, you can fight.
Yeah.
You know, them paws can transition.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what everybody's waiting for. They're waiting for him to come to the States. They want to see him fight in the States. They want to see him fight outside of his native country, even though he's a unified champion right now. They want him to come to the States, though.
But I really don't have a fight right now in boxing that's like making me say I want to see it now at this point. Because, like I said, the whole Bud Crawford Canelo thing is unrealistic. I don't think it's gonna happen.
I do. I got a fight.
What's that?
But there's some ducking going on.
What's that?
David Benavidez and Canelo. That's the fight I want to see. And what's your name? David Benavidez has actually reached out to Big Money Man and said, "Hey, make this happen."
But you heard what Turkish Al-Sheikh said. It's not an issue with him.
It's not an issue.
Like, he has the money. He's like, do y'all want to fight or not? Like, that's what I like about him, man. He puts it out there too. Like, look, man, I got the money. What we gonna do?
So, like I said, I didn't get a chance to see the Bud fight. So, like, what was the final decision? I know y'all said he struggled, but what was the final decision?
He won by split decision.
But it's, especially coming off the Errol Spence fight, it's not the typical domination that you are used to seeing with Bud. And honestly, I didn't expect that type of domination. I just, expected it to look cleaner, I guess would be, the
dude was hitting him with some shots. He was hitting him with some shots.
I mean, and Bud proved that he could take him too.
Yeah, he did. I ain't gonna take that from him, but it just didn't, like you said, it didn't look clean. There's a couple rounds he lost because he was just being silly in the ring, taunting.
But again, like I always tell people, like, you have to respect the weight classes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a lot of times that's where people get in trouble. I remember back in the day, speaking of another legend, Sugar Shane Mosley was like 33-0 at lightweight. He didn't get in trouble till he moved up to welterweight and started, facing guys like Vernon Forrest, and then even then he was okay, but he was like, I want to go to junior middleweight too, just like Bud did. And that's when he ran into Winky Wright and a couple other people who were just too big, for him. Because again,
that weight class was different.
What you weigh in versus what you actually walk around at is two different things.
Yeah, big difference.
So what Henry say? Oh yeah, he said he wanted to see that fight also. He said he got Canelo on that one.
But against David, I don't know.
Benavidez?
David Benavidez is kind of a nightmare. I don't like his fight style, but dude just is kind of dangerous, punching wise.
I still have Canelo as long as he's in his prime. You know what I mean? But even he's another one.
He did it with Bivdebal.
He moved up to light heavyweight and he lost. Before that, his only loss was to Money May. Again, they had those weight classes for a reason. But at least with Turkey Al-Sheikh, in play, if a fight can be made,
he gonna make it happen. He gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
No. Money is not a problem. What do you want?
Don't matter.
He gonna say, I need a number. I've never seen a promoter. We ain't gonna ever see a promoter like this say, I just need a number.
Yeah.
Give me a number.
He's trying to entertain the world, but he's trying to entertain his people.
Yeah. But he know he gonna get the revenue. He know he gonna get it back.
Right. It's investment, but again, it's always nice to have FU money anyway.
For sure. This is definitely FU money. Definitely is.
Where it really
y'all can't do shit. And y'all, excuse my friends, y'all can't do shit about it.
Nope. Okay, nobody. PBC might be, for all we know, PBC might be going under the water because of him.
And I never thought I'd see Al Heyman not, part of it. But it can happen to anybody, so that's gonna be the fate for Golden Boy.
Golden Boy was there too. Oscar was there as well. That's crazy.
He was there, but it wasn't his show.
It wasn't his show. Well, we can partially say it was because he's part with Dan's, so you can partially say that, but
Yeah,
he ain't
but
the money man.
what is it
He ain't
called?
the money.
Radia season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You saw that logo on the
yeah.
ring, and
It was on the ring.
yeah,
They gave that man about 3 awards, Big John, and he gave away a car, bro. Gave away a
yeah, he
car,
gave away a car, Big
a
John.
brand new car.
What's crazy about that? Like, it's always gonna be in any sport. It's always gonna be a bag man and the owner and the promoter, but that's actually is giving the fighter more freedom. If you can put the butts in the seats and you are a premier fighter, you can write your own check.
Oh yeah, they was there. Everybody was there at that fight.
You don't need a golden boy. You don't need a extra promoter. You can actually write your own check.
And you know what? I lied because there was somebody else that was there that was sitting right next to Turkish Al Sheikh and Shakur Stevenson, who was sitting right next to him.
Him and Loma got into it. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. They had to be separated, but that's not the fight I want to see.
No, yeah, we know the fight we want to see.
I want to see Shakur hop in there with Tank. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Or
and it might happen. This is the time frame. Yeah, one of the two.
Was Tank and Loma, but see that was supposed to happen years ago, though.
Yeah, it was. It's supposed to happen like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When Loma was still undefeated, he was still in the top rank. He had damn near majority of the belts.
Before he was fighting for his life at home in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Distracted.
Before all the drama was going on.
So we're gonna pivot away from boxing because I want to get into tell Chase I said what up. I hear him in the background.
Yeah, they loud. About to go close the door. Arguing. Him and Harmony stay arguing. I don't know what that's about. Hold on.
Hey, brother and sister.
Let me go close the door. Huh?
Hey, brother and sister. That's what they do.
That's what they do. I can't even.
But Uncle Snoop say handle that while I handle that.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me go close this door.
So I want to pivot to what everybody's talking about around these parts, Big John. It's training camp.
Right.
Our beloved Cincinnati Bengals are at work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few storylines out of Cincinnati Bengals training camp. Right. And I want to wait for Brother Nate to get back before I get into it. Right. But we know what the main, shall we say, numero uno storyline is out of training camp right now.
And I will, we're gonna wait for Nate to get back, but he's doing it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this is the first time I've seen a hold in.
Well,
where a guy is actually at training camp but just not participating.
Well, from stories, the Silverback is doing that too. Big Trent Williams is doing it too. He's there. He ain't doing nothing, but he there.
Yeah, but for the most part, guys, if they're going to hold out, they stay
there. Yeah. And what's his name? I don't want to butcher his name, and they probably finna trade him now because they can't pay him and Trent Williams. But the wide receiver,
Brandon Ayuk,
I don't want to mess up his name, but he was doing that too. He was showing up to practice, and then they was like, well, Trent Williams just started showing up, and he's there, but Brandon Ayuk is still been there from jump. He's trying to get a new contract, but sometimes you gotta
see. They've
already said he can negotiate talks with other teams. Brandon Ayuk.
He's been getting on social media saying stuff and causing a little turmoil.
They cause a ruckus.
So that's because he knows he's not going to get paid. When you have you just paid Debo, you paying CMC, you're gonna have to pay the best offensive lineman in the league. You're gonna have to pay him.
Is he really the best offensive lineman in the league?
That you're gonna have to pay, and you have a top 5 tight end.
Is Silverback still the best?
Is he still the best? Is he still the best?
His age
at 30, what he 34? At 34 years old, yes, he is. What that man can do, what he does at the tackle position is exactly dominant as what Aaron Donald was doing. There's nothing that he can't do, and a grown man that big, pause, should not be moving that fast.
So he good as Willie Anderson. I'm gonna throw his name out there.
I mean, he ain't had a
first
full
of
career
all,
yet.
Willie plays right.
They put that.
I know that, but I'm just
I mean,
putting the, you know what I mean.
at the end of his career, he possibly can be, but no, I'm not gonna say right now he is. No.
The greatest left tackle of all time is still Anthony Munoz. Period. Point blank.
Yeah, for sure.
And for biased people like myself, although I don't even think it's biased, just cut on the tape. The second greatest left tackle of all time is Orlando Pace, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I agree.
Trent Williams is in the discussion. I definitely don't want to downplay because, like Big John said, you know, the one thing, you know, pause, I will say, it don't make sense for a man as big as Trent Williams is to be as athletic as he is. Like, that is scary, man. Especially them plays and sweeps and outside zone plays where they actually pull him to the other side and you see him running and hunting down guys that are supposed to be more athletic than him.
It's weird.
Keep hunting them down.
Like, it's scary. It's like you see, it's like they tell you don't run away from bears. That's the bear you don't want to run from. Like, he can catch you. And it doesn't matter whether you're a DB, whether you're a safety, whether you're a linebacker, he's going to be there. Like, and it's crazy because going back to that, it's just certain guys are just different type athletes. Like, I was at the, you know, y'all know I went up to Canton to see the Hall of Fame this weekend, and they were showing clips of Julius Peppers, and they showed him where he went to go play for the Bears, and he was shaking hands with Cam Newton. The fact that Cam Newton can run and do all the things he can do, and he's the same size, if not bigger than Julius Peppers, is insane. Like, athletes like that don't come every day. Like those Terrell Owens type, you know, as I mess with my best friend Black Jesus type guys, those it don't happen that way. That's genetics. Like, that don't happen all the time.
Shout out to Obadiah Cheatham. But you know what? Leonard Stokes, Bearcats legend, we had on here a few episodes ago, gave his Julius Peppers story about trying to box him out in the lane, and Julius Peppers essentially just sticking his hand out, and Leonard
wasn't getting past that arm,
and that arm didn't move.
Right. That's like a little kid get mad at their dad trying to push their arm down.
Right.
What amazed me about Julius Peppers always was he was about 6'5", you know, 6'6", maybe. Easily 250, 260.
Easily 250.
And ran a 4.45 40-yard dash.
Yeah.
So it wasn't no outrunning him. Like Michael Vick used to get hawked down by Julius Peppers. That's all you need to know.
It was on the Jumbotron several times at the Hall of Fame. He I don't even think Vic got sacked that many times in his career, and Julius Peppers probably had majority of them. But
getting back to what we were talking about as far as the hold in with Uno, Jamar Chase, I think he's going about it the right way, and just to explain why he's doing it if people, you know, aren't aware. Number one, Uno deserves his money.
I'm glad he's there though.
He has put together 3 amazing seasons in a row, so he has outperformed his rookie contract. Just number one. Number two, a lot of wide receivers have gotten paid this offseason. Mainly his LSU teammate Justin Jefferson got his deal. There are other wide receivers, and I'm not counting anybody's pocket or any, you know, thing like that, but there are other wide receivers that aren't on his level, like DJ Moore up in Chicago, you know, that have gotten paid, and it just becomes a business decision at this point. He wants to be there. You know, he loves his teammates. He wants to, you know, continue to be a Bengal, but he also doesn't want to go out there and get hurt under a deal currently that is underpaying him for his work.
Right.
Only issue I have, because it's already been thrown out there that the Bengals will be letting their starters get some, you know, reps, you know, in the preseason, you know, mainly this Saturday in their first preseason game, which they need, because we've seen the last 3 years the slow start that we've gotten off to because of no preseason reps. So I'm glad that they are playing. Not that it's going to define Uno's season, but I just know.
Is Joe playing in the preseason? That's the question of the day.
Yeah, he is. Now, again, it may be one series, it may be a couple snaps, but it's better than the none that you've seen with the slow starts that have taken place the last few years. My problem is I would like Uno to be out there because it's just conventional football wisdom. Anytime guys hold out for whatever reason, there's usually something. I think John's boy Emmitt Smith was the only one that held out, came back like he didn't miss a beat. Cowboys overcame a 0-2 start to win the Super Bowl, and I think that was '93 that happened. That don't happen that often. Usually when guys hold out and they miss reps, they miss practice time and stuff, they come back, they get hurt, hamstring, something, pull, something of that matter. And I would just like him, if there's anybody that can overcome not being out there, it's the combination of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, right? They have that chemistry. Yeah. But I would still like to see him on the field as all.
For sure.
Yeah. He's doing it the right way though.
I'm glad he's there.
And he knows he's gonna get paid. He knows he's gonna get paid. The Bengals ain't that stupid to not pay him. He's gonna get paid, and even if they don't, he's gonna get that dollar elsewhere. But he knows he's gonna get paid by the Bengals.
Like you just said, that last sentence you said, he's gonna get paid by the Cincinnati Bengals. We know Jamar Chase is going to get his bag. The question is
for sure. He definitely gonna get paid,
and he knows that too. Otherwise, he would, show up. He's just trying to force their hand to do it a little bit sooner than maybe they were, planning. And I saw the quote from Mr. Brown, who said we're going to bend over backwards to make sure this gets done. Like even he knows, like okay.
You didn't say it. Brother Brown, pause, bro. Like
Mr. Brown knows the importance of somebody like Jamar Chase. And like I always tell people to talk about those outdated narratives about the Bengals and their spending patterns or whatever. Name me a time where they did not offer the bag to a superstar.
Right.
A main guy is what I'm saying. Usually what we run into with the Bengals, unfortunately, is, okay, you knew Joe was going to get his money. Uno was going to get his money. Certain other guys on the team. Some of those extra guys become expendable, like a Jesse Bates. Or, unfortunately, probably a T. Higgins.
Big T.
At this point. That second guy, does he get his money? But the Geno Atkins, the Carlos Dunlaps, Stars, the Ocho Cincos, hell, even the Corey Dillons. You ain't never heard them complain about money here in Cincinnati.
Right.
They get them the money.
They get them the dollars. They do. They get them the money. Just take a little while, but they get the money.
So, what I was wondering, because I think the Bengals have a lot to prove and really need to get something done this year with this current cast. But I wanted to talk about sleepers this year that nobody's talking about. And as Nate bounces out Big John and wait for him to come back in. What's the sleeper team in the AFC or NFC that you feel like people aren't talking about that you expecting a jump from this year?
That's a good question, brother. That's a good question. And I feel like some of the teams, they're sleepers because they may not be quite ready yet. I think, and especially with the outline that people are following now, even with the receiver position, they just getting a whole bunch of good young guys and having a good quarterback. But I think Green Bay, man, Green Bay gonna do some damage in the NFC. I think Green Bay.
I was gonna say Green Bay because they signed Josh Jacobs, free agent running back during the offseason. Jordan Love seems to have solidified himself as the guy.
Yeah, he had his coming out party against the Cowboys, and also was putting up numbers during the season. He was sixth in QBR, especially coming from where he came from. Man, it's like people were shaking on him; they didn't know what he was going to be, and whatever this year lit a fire, he just probably needs some time to develop.
Well, the Packers, the Packers over the past 30 years seem to have a blueprint, man. They go ahead and they get that quarterback before they probably actually need to. And they allow him to watch that superstar.
Which is smart.
Well, see, that's the old school way of doing it. Now everybody likes to just throw them in the fire and hope that
because they got to win. They got to have a win now mentality, and everybody's leash is short. But the crazy thing about Green Bay is they'll pick a quarterback while they're winning. Like Aaron Rodgers was still winning. Was he winning Super Bowls at the time? No, but he was still winning MVPs. He was still putting them in the playoffs. He was still winning. I mean, the same
in his situation, and that's what was always funny to me is that Aaron Rodgers was scoffed at the Packers, front office, and was so upset when they drafted Jordan Love, and I just found the irony in it. I'm like, well, essentially, that's exactly what happened with you because Brett Favre was still Brett Favre when you were drafted, and you sat on the bench for about 3 or 4 years, before they finally made the decision. Okay, we're moving on. We're not going to play. This game, thanks, Brett. So it was funny that he got mad that happened to him also.
Which ultimately, man, the Packers are smart for doing that. Now, I know the psyche of a quarterback is very sensitive and you don't want to psych out your guy and all that. I get all that, but that's actually really smart to do. I mean, even if, even New England tried to do it with Big Tom, and people think Big Tom is the GOAT, but shit, they didn't let Bill Belichick get away with it. But
they did it too late.
Yeah,
because I don't even think that Bill Belichick wanted Mac Jones.
I'm talking about he tried to do it with your boy with Jimmy G, but it was like Big Tom was still producing. The owner didn't want to get rid of him. So he really couldn't move on from him when he wanted to move on from him because Belichick got a time clock for everybody, even Big Tom. So
which I told people would happen,
right? And I like me and you joke about it, man. But I think the only people that skipped a few time on that clock was him and Big Will Ford. Was the only two that kind of got a little bit more time on that clock.
And that hurt Belichick when he had to do that to Big Vince because that was his boy. That was one of his favorites.
Yeah.
I remember when Vince left and played his last 2 years with the Texans, and before the game when the Patriots played them, Belichick ran across the field to greet Vince Wilfork. Vince was still kind of salty, but he went across and hugged him and said, I'm gonna talk to you after the game, too, because he loved Vince Wilfork. And honestly, he did the same thing. Belichick don't like, media and cameras to be involved. Obviously, he did the same thing when Big Tom, came back to Foxborough. He actually went for, I think it was like an hour and a half after the game and talked to Tom in the locker room. He didn't want the cameras to capture that, but
Yeah. I mean, somebody even I don't know if you got a chance to watch the whole roast of Tom Brady, whatever, but somebody you build that much rapport with and win those championships with, no matter what goes down, like y'all built something great. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
So that don't change nothing.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, though, what is your level of concern with Uno not practicing right now?
With being the type of athlete he is, I'm concerned because he's not getting the reps, but I'm really not concerned. Like you said, it's gonna be some rust. Everybody has rust. Even when you said, Emmitt Smith was the only person that came back and they ended up winning the Super Bowl, but he probably still has some rust. But like you said, that big offensive line and the team they had kind of probably let him get away with it. But it's gonna be some rust. He's gonna come back. But and especially with the difference between a lot of these young guys are kind of going back to the old ways where they're working out hard to prepare for this, man. Like the reason why probably like guys like Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice never really had rust because they worked so hard in the offseason where it didn't show. And I think is that type of athlete where he's going to do it. These younger guys, man, they out here doing drills. They out here doing stuff. A lot of people before them would think that, I got talent. I'm too good to do that. But a lot of these young guys are working hard right now.
Well, and also, I think indirectly, because, we were questioning, and I don't want to make him upset in case, this ever gets back to him. But, we were questioning T. Higgins and how locked in he was going to be playing on the franchise tag. I think this indirectly helps with him being the main focal point right now with, not being there. You see all the clips, from practice and stuff of T is getting his targets.
Right.
now.
Right. Yeah. And it's gonna be even, more ball to go around because the third guy ain't there. He's now in Tennessee. So it's gonna be a little bit more. He's gonna be a little bit more focal point with him and getting the young guys acclimated. The new guy from Alabama. So it's gonna work out.
Which Jermaine Burton has already been making.
Oh yeah, I've seen some highlights. He's cold, but they needed a guy like that, man. Uno is what he is. T is what he's, big body, over the top, and all that. But they needed a guy like that, man. Like you said, if he can do half of what Levels did, he'll be straight.
Yeah. So, that's my only concern, just from a repetition standpoint, and knowing that they need those reps and to get out there. But like I said, the chemistry that him and Joe obviously have already, I'm not too worried about it. I would put my concern probably at a level 5.
Going back to your previous question, in the AFC, and it really ain't really a sleeper no more because they kind of.
I already know who you gonna say.
They kind of put the league on notice. It's Houston.
Yeah,
it's Houston, man.
Well, it's funny that CJ Stroud has built up such a connection and got Nico Collins paid, a former wide receiver from that team up north. And then you add in a Stephon Diggs. They had the other guy, Tank. Was it Tank Dale?
Tank Dale, yeah.
That was putting up phenomenal numbers before he got hurt. They go out and they trade for Joe Mixon.
Yeah. But see, a lot of you gotta have the coaching to do it. But a lot of teams are adopting that Andy Reid philosophy. Okay, we're gonna have a good quarterback. We're gonna get a lot of receivers that can do different things, that are athletic and young, and we're gonna pitch the ball around. That's what Houston is doing. That's what Miami is doing. It ain't really, Miami got Tyreek Hill, that's the big name. Kansas City has, they tight end, that's the big name. But really, it's a lot of young guys that's athletic, just catching balls. It's not really a main guy anymore. So he's benefited.
Well, and you do have to pick and choose. Now, what I will say is for people like Kansas City, they've done it successfully, and they have Lombardi trophies in the trophy case to show for it, where they can say, okay, we're not going to give Tyreek Hill that bag. Or it's okay to let go of a Kareem Hunt, or Spencer Ware, or, other people that they've let go, Honey Badger, that were part of the operation, and they successfully done that. Now, the question is, can our Bengals do that also and have to do that with the people that they've let go, the Jesse Bates, the Tyler Boyd, that unfortunately became, shall we say, cap casualties,
Yeah. But they're gonna have to, because like I said in previous episode, we said if they don't, they're gonna miss that window. I know Joe said the window is open as long as he's here. If they don't, they're gonna miss that window. Because even I always go back to the Rams as an example. That Rams team with Todd Gurley and all them, they were good enough to win. They just didn't. So they had to rebuild and retool and go get your boy from the Lions. They had to. And then that window opened back up, and they did it, to the Bengals' expense, but they still did it, so they have to. If the Bengals don't retool and get better as they age, that window is going to close. As good as AJ and Dunlap and them was, they window closed.
Well, like I said, to me, I think the most underrated, point of emphasis that is going to determine, what the Bengals do this year is those two rookie defensive tackles, McKinley and Chris Jenkins, have to provide some punch and some stability and some run stopping and some pressure to replace DJ Reader not being there. And that in turn will take some pressure off of Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson as pass rushers on the outside. I would like to see some guys. I think Joseph Osai just tore his Achilles and he's out, for the year. So that hurts. Or is that?
No, I think Osai's cool. That was Sample.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sample did that. So that's
he was coming on last year too. It
really was. But see, this is an opportunity for people like Zach Carter, to step up. That BJ Hill is going to do his thing, there in the middle. I mean, they have, pieces. So I'm not worried about that. I just need to see guys actually, produce and make that step and do what they were drafted to do and brought in here. People like Dax Hill.
Yeah.
The
front seven, I'm not kind of worried about. I'm more worried about the secondary.
Those two corners from that team up north.
I'm more worried about the secondary, man.
DJ Turner, but even the rookie Newman that they got from TCU has shown some flashes as well. So I think they'll be all right. But transitioning to college football, who's also in training camp mode right now. Today, Big John, it was announced that your state university, was ranked number 2 in the coaches poll. We'll start the season ranked number 2.
And they should be.
A lot of talent, man. And I'm not just gushing or saying that as a Buckeye fan. Just that you're a football guy. Like there's a serious amount of talent in Columbus right now. Even more pressure on Ryan Day because if he doesn't get it done this year,
he gonna have to resign, bro. He gonna have to resign. He gonna have to resign. Like it's right now, it's to the point where, well, he has to beat Michigan. That's just a foregone conclusion. But he has to win the national championship. Like it's that much pressure on him.
Well, I've told people he can't. He has to not only win one. I think Ryan Day has to go undefeated this year.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some 2 and 3 loss teams to get in just because of the 12-team playoff that exists right now. But they have to go undefeated. They have to get whatever first or second round matchups, for teams to come to Columbus, before they go to the neutral sites and stuff. Like it has to be a clean sweep this year. You're right. So they have to go on the road. They have to beat a very tough Oregon team out there in Oregon. You really can't overlook that game. They have to come home. They have to play the other top 10 team in Penn State, at home. That always makes it a tough game regardless against Ohio State. And then you have to play that team up north at home, where at this point it has become a mental thing, I think, with Ryan Day.
But do you think, I know you said, I'm sorry to cut you off, I know you said he has to go undefeated, but do you think he can give up one in the motherland because of the playoff? Because it's a 12-team playoff now. So even if Ohio State loses one game, they're going to make it to the playoff.
Well, I say no, but I can tell you this. That one loss cannot be against that team up north that last year in November.
Oh, no. They can't lose to them. I'm not. But if they – because, sometimes in past history, y'all drop games y'all shouldn't drop to. Say y'all did drop one to Oregon and just clean sweep everybody else. They're going to get in the playoffs.
They'll get in the playoffs, but this is where people who ain't or aren't Buckeye nuts, get lost and like, man, I can't believe that. The pressure though in Columbus, if he loses to that team up north that last Saturday, they honestly don't care. And I can say we, because I'm in that group. Like I really don't care. A former friend of mine was baffled when I told him that, and he was like, "So you really would trade a national championship for a victory versus that team up north?" I didn't say yes, but I paused. And I just said, I'm like, you don't understand if you're not here. It's like a stain. Like, I know a couple years ago we would have took it if that field goal kicker made the kick, against Georgia. We wouldn't even be having this conversation about Ryan Day right now. I had that chance. And that's the little differences that end up in these situations that we're in right now. Just think about, had that gone the way it was supposed to go.
Right.
And we're having a different conversation about Ryan Day. And he lost to Michigan that year. But I'm just saying, under the current circumstances of losing 3 straight, it doesn't matter. Like that one can't be the one. But I heard reports are out of Columbus that Will Howard has started to separate himself as the number 1, quarterback, the incoming transfer from Kansas State, former Big 12 champion, who has performed at some of the highest levels, started over 28 games the past few years. But the surprise is what people were saying who number 2 is and took the other first team reps is the sophomore or redshirt freshman quarterback, Julian Saying, the transfer from Alabama, has to this point beaten out Devin Brown, last year's backup. And I hate to say it, but man, the writing is on the wall for Aaron Nolan right now, because you have Will Howard starting this year, presumably. Julian Saying seems to be in line, potentially for next year. So him and Devin Brown may want to start looking at the transfer portal, because Tavian St. Clair will be there next year, everybody's overall number one quarterback coming out of high school.
And now with the whole transfer portal making college football the Wild Wild West, if you're young and you're coming into a college like Ohio State, if you don't make an impression, you might as well put your name in the transfer portal, because it's not going to happen. It is what it is. Because if you don't make an impression to get yourself on the field ASAP, it's going to be another kid coming right behind you, number one. Number two, they can go pick whatever player they want out of the portal. So you have to make that impression. And
there were rumors there were rumors that he was considering transferring already during the spring, and he had stepped away for a couple weeks because he was homesick or whatever. So, and it's jacked up, because I know the kid Aaron Nolan can play, and I know there's plenty of Division I colleges where if he did transfer, he would eventually be the man to start there. And I had hopes with him, especially being a mobile quarterback and some of the things I knew he could do, that he would bring that element back that's been missing since Justin Fields left. But that's the cream of the crop, man. The best player will play, and especially the best player that's making those plays through the air, no pun intended, throwing the ball is going to be the guy.
Right. Yeah. But it's always politics, man, and whatever, man. I'm not trying to transition away from what we was talking about, but even they were talking about how good Arch Manning was playing in the spring game, and they were saying they don't know why Quentin Ewers has still got the job, but he's going to hold the job. But they was talking about how good Arch Manning looks. But
and I'm not saying that Arch isn't and won't be, but obviously we know part of that, like you said, is the politics and the name behind it.
Right.
Like Quentin, Edwards was Ewers was considered, the best thing since sliced bread coming out too, when he originally went to before transferring to Texas. But it's all about timing too, man. Because some guys just come at the wrong time, including Ohio State's former running back Dallin Hayden, who ran for over 500 yards as a freshman when injuries to Mayan and Trey Day happened, and he just got lost in the shuffle. After that, wound up transferring to Colorado and played for Coach Prime. Sometimes that's part of the deal too. It's just timing, but I'm expecting huge things from Buckeyes this year. I'm expecting a revenge tour, and I'm not just saying that as a fan. I just feel like, they have the best talent in the nation. It's just up to Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, rest of the assistant coaches, James Laurinaitis, Brian Hartline, Coach Johnson on that defensive line. There are no excuses, man. Everybody came back. You retooled as usual with the recruiting class. I've heard that Jeremiah Smith, the true freshman wide receiver, number one overall recruit in the country, has been tearing stuff up, in practice too. Everything is there, man. And I know that's a lot of pressure coming into the year too, when people, the expectations are always, sky high at Ohio State, but like literally people were saying, even Urban Meyer, like, man, this is the most talent I've ever seen at Ohio State, including my teams. Now, I don't know if that was just a little, patting on the butt that was taking place, but
no, what he's saying isn't a lie, man. If you look across the college landscape with the talent y'all got coming in and the stability, really, there's really nobody even matching you guys. And people are gonna say Georgia because they are the team that just won the national championship. And Georgia is one of them schools that also retools like y'all. But talent-wise, right now, it's not really close. And now, like I said, I'm not a big Ohio State guy, but I'm a football guy, so I can see that. Like with the talent y'all got coming in, the stability y'all have, the coaching that y'all have, even though people get mad at Ryan Day for his shortcomings in other areas, he's still one of the better coaches in the league. It's set up for y'all to take it.
And I believe that. I'm still a Ryan Day supporter, but I'm also realistic where I'm like, Coach, you got to get it done.
Right.
Because you're not going to have the same lease that John Cooper had. So
Right. It's going to be, if y'all don't win it, I don't really see anybody else getting it. It will have to be a Georgia, or it's going to have to be one of them years where like a LSU come out of nowhere, like they did with Big Joe. Like it's going to be something like that. I don't really see. It's either y'all or nobody at this point from what I'm from across the college landscape, what I'm seeing. Like I don't really, Michigan is not going, I don't feel like they're going to be a factor. They're not going to be that much of a factor.
Perfect segue, Big John. Speaking of that team up north. Now, I haven't hit Reem up or Brother Triggs, to get their opinions on it because I don't want to hear nothing biased about it.
Right.
But all the allegations and things that we knew took place and the cheating from the recruiting to the sign stealing, scandal have come to fruition right now. I don't think it's any coincidence that Harbaugh left and went to the NFL when he did, right after winning the national championship.
Right.
So he's been given a 4-year showing clause from the NCAA, which means that if he were to try to come back to, college, somebody would have to show and prove why he should be allowed to, coach or do anything. But honestly, I think that Harbaugh is done, with college at this point, anyway, and it wouldn't matter because he's not there. The question is what's going to happen to head coach Shereen Moore, who allegedly, according to reports, deleted over 52 text messages the day the report came out about Connor Stallions and the sign stealing scandal. Coach Harbaugh flat out refused to hand over his cell phone or laptop. So, that ought to tell you something as well. So there are going to be potential sanctions and penalties that happen. I don't believe that they're going to take away Michigan's, national championship because there wasn't any concern of ineligible players or anything like that. But they're probably going to give up some scholarships, worst case scenario, like a bowl ban or something like that, maybe for a year. But I don't even know that that's really going to take place with this. I just want it to be notated that they actually did cheat. Period. That's not me being a Buckeye fan or anything like they.
If you got to do that much, where there's smoke, there's fire. If you got to do that much hiding and deleting and refusing, you did something. It may be worse or it may be minor, but you did something. So for you to hide it, it's a reason why.
Well, obviously, like I said, if you delete that many text messages, there's a reason why.
Oh yeah.
And Harbaugh, that doesn't surprise me at all. That's just who he is, flat out refusing to cooperate, at all. Because he knew in his mind, especially if they won the championship, which they did, he knew he was leaving. I mean, every year, we had shout out to, Bengals radio network host Wayne Box Miller,
my brother,
who we've had on here several times. We had that conversation both on here and in private, between me and him, that where there's smoke, there's fire. And a lot of people didn't want to admit it, but there was a reason why I feel like every year he was flirting with the NFL before ultimately coming back to Ann Arbor.
He was making his escape plan.
Yeah, and now that all that's happened, it's easy to see, what happened. I just think it's amazing that in order to end that streak, they had to resort to cheating to beat my state university. That's all I want to throw out there, man. That's exactly what happened, man. Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. I mean, I mean, for you to do that, you have a leg up on the competition somewhat. But like you said, after a while, Ryan Day switched it up and he did certain things so they couldn't steal the signs and this and that. Because obviously he knew something was going on. But then after that, you still got to line up between the lines. Now, I'm not going to say that is the only reason why they won, but they had a leg up.
Well, I know that in our last matchup against Clemson in the college football playoff, when we finally beat them, Ryan Day did come up with a different system for relaying the plays in because he knew Clemson was doing the same thing. And Ohio State beat the brakes off of them. So there was some validity to it.
Well, I knew y'all was going to do that to them that year anyway. I told you the whole year y'all was going to do that.
You said that, but like you said, it still takes you to actually go out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Clemson had a little streak going against us in the bowls when we weren't getting it done against them.
But they actually had the horses to compete with y'all. That year, if you stopped ETN and you stopped Sunshine, you stopped 18. And that's what y'all did.
I still say the adjustments did Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, the adjustments is always
being pissed off that they hadn't beat them the last two times they played them.
Yeah, I mean, the adjustments in coaching is always the tail of the tape, but just looking at what we call the Jimmies and the Joes, they didn't have enough. Yeah. If you stop, because even with Lawrence, for several years, you could name the Clemson receivers. You didn't even know who he was throwing to. If he didn't run it himself or he didn't give it to ETN, you didn't even know what was going on. Because they didn't have nobody. They couldn't compete with y'all on that level. And then, like, nobody on the defensive side, when they got rid of those 5 D linemen that went in the first round, and the only one that went in the second round, was a nose tackle, and he only went in the second round because he was a nose tackle. Like, they whole defense was gone.
Well, the Buckeyes, like you said, should be the on.
Yeah, y'all are the favorite. It's
not favorite to win the national championship.
It's not even close. There's no Alabama creeping around the corner. Michigan ain't gonna be that. LSU ain't really been nothing in a minute. There's nobody creeping. It's y'all. It's really y'all and Georgia slightly. That's it. That's all it really is.
Well, tell me this, Big John, and I don't know how closely you've been following it. I said, well, what do you expect from your Hurricanes this year?
Hold that thought 1 second, brother. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Well, between Big John and Nate today.
Hold on, brother. I had to put out a fire right quick. I'm back.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Usually they build me up to let me down, but I'm hopefully Cristobal has his guys in there now. He put in what he got going on, and he does what he needs to do. I don't.
You got Cam Ward at quarterback.
Yeah, and I was laughing at that, man, because even though the U.S. had great football teams, it's weird even playing NCAA and them having a mobile quarterback. It's weird, like, because even Jacoby Harris, was athletic, but he still was a pocket passer, and he was a skinny one at that. But yeah, it's weird with them having a quarterback that athletic. Brock Berlin was okay, but he still wasn't athletic as Ward. Like, it ain't even close. So, I mean,
Derek Kruger play.
Yeah. He shows promise. I like it. Hopefully he comes out. And that's what the game is changing to now. It ain't really too many pure pocket passers anymore. You have to be able to move as a quarterback now. You can't stand back there and be a statue and throw it 30 times a game. You have to be able to move. But I don't know, man. Hopefully they do well. I'm not putting too much stock into it because they have to prove it. Because every year, even when we're ranked, like the year we were ranked 8th, we come out and blow out Notre Dame and then lose to LSU, who then get blow out the next game. So it's like,
well, you did beat Clemson last year, though. Got
that
monkey off your back.
Yeah, we beat Clemson, but then we also was a couple plays away from beating a FSU team that almost made it to the playoffs and gave it away.
Then you lose to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, then you lose to Georgia Tech. Then you turn around and you shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech because all you had to do was take a knee, and then you turn around and get blown out by North Carolina.
I want y'all to be back so bad, man, because number one is it's good for college football.
Right.
And number two, like I said, it just guarantees certain guys won't be going to the SEC. They'll be going to, Miami like they're supposed to, or now that Florida State is essentially back.
Right.
More recruits will be going there. And hopefully that saves the ACC because they're on life support right now.
But with all the conference realignment and transfer portal, that's the one thing I do enjoy about it being wide open now, because it ain't being AAU now. They all ain't ganging up and going to a certain conference now. Now talent is spread out, because now if you got the facilities, the money, the roster, these kids are going to go play. So now you can't just gang up and go to Alabama. You can't just gang up and go to LSU, or that year everybody gang up with Cam Newton and went to Auburn. You can't do that no more.
Well, y'all could come to Death Row and come to the Big Ten.
Bro, y'all ain't gonna let the U in the Big Ten, bro.
I think they will. If Miami was seriously interested, I think they would. Mm-hmm. And then you could maybe get back, and they could play Ohio State every year.
Hey man, we got our get back, man. We got y'all one good time. With Jacoby Harris, we got that one.
Oh, you mean that year where Terrell Pryor and all them were suspended and Coach Tressel had to step down? Okay, I guess if you got to count that.
Hey man, a win is a win is a win. We can't tell y'all what happened. We not the NCAA.
Yeah, but y'all got busted when y'all came with the Columbus the year before. So Jerry Bishaki and all them were on the sideline to witness. Glad you got to come up to my state where we play real football and take that L.
Yeah, but like I said, man, it is crazy, man, going to the Hall of Fame ceremony, seeing all them new guys up there to support their guys, man. It is crazy what we could be, but we got to get back to that, man. But like you said, a lot of the American landscape ain't even the same no more. So you're gonna have to.
There's not that hub, or what they used to call the state of Miami, from Liberty City to Dade County to all of that.
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to adapt with the times. But and when I say this, I do not mean any disrespect to any cultures or anybody. But when you go and you see Miami play, and their best receiver is a Latino, and I'm not saying he ain't a dog. He's a dog. Number 7 is a dog.
Be careful, big dog.
I know. He's a dog. I'm not saying he's not. But coming from having Andre Johnson, having Ethnic Sands, having Roscoe Parrish, having all these guys, and your best player on offense, even the running back position, your best player on offense, it's not one of them Dade County boys. I'm gonna say that it ain't the same.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, that kind of falls on Cristobal and school itself. Whatever you have to do, and particularly now in the era of NIL, it should be even easier. You don't need a Shapiro to bring your program down by buying players. It's actually legal. Miami has to decide, and I've always said this about Miami to people that have asked me, like, what does it take for the U to get back? I think Cristobal is the coach, but the school itself has to decide that they want the U to be back. They want to be an elite football program again. And I just personally, I don't see where the school has decided that they even care about being elite in football again. They actually care more about basketball at this point.
But what's crazy is it's been a lot of comments about what the football team has been doing, meaning they probably kind of getting back to those Shapiro and Uncle Luke days where they are actually helping the players, which is legal now. So it's cool. Because I think, was it 12 gauge that said something about Miami? But it was somebody from Ohio State that mentioned something about Miami and they recruiting or whatever. I don't want to say it was 12 gauge, but it was.
I think it was 12 games. I vaguely remember what you were
But
talking
pretty much what he's saying is Miami getting back to their old ways by helping some of these young men. And I'm not hating it because now it's legal. But what Miami messed up is what we were just talking about, the bag man with the boxing. They kind of alienated a couple of their bag men. And
not kind of.
Oh, yeah, they did for sure. But they
threw Luke under the bus. Shapiro's still in jail right now.
Right.
Now, I don't understand as how the school president, who was involved in all of that, she's still down there and has been unscathed by this.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully that you will get it back. Right. So I want to remind everybody, thank you for tuning in. Those who did earlier, my boy Henry received. Those who would check out the audio file or go back and check out this video episode. We are essentially everywhere now. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, as well as iHeartRadio. So you can always go back and check these episodes out. This one will be available on YouTube and Facebook. It looks like there was a problem with Twitter again that I have to get straight, or excuse me, X as they call it.
Right.
We'll get that back to streaming live. So shout out to the Brown Bruce Wayne Big John.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Will West, the best Nate, wherever he is with
we lost some technical difficulties.
Yeah. But we appreciate y'all. Always check us out on Facebook and IG. We'll keep the content coming. Please show us love. We'll try and do it better the next time.
Yes, sir.